Brandon Bennett.
Start.
My name is Brandon Bennett, owner and operator of Wash Nash TN LLC out here in Nashville, Tennessee. Pretty much got my start when I moved out here. I was big into stock and commodities trading. I moved from Phoenix out to Nashville in 2021, April to be exact. And I lost my behind. I lost about $50,000 in a month messing with the derivatives and options market, and learned a big lesson. Make sure you have a line of work with income that you can actually control. And I mean, that's the lesson I learned. These markets are not organic, highly manipulated, and they ate my lunch, so to speak. So I lost 50 grand in a month, decided to pivot and to do something else, completely different realm, completely different industry. And that was pressure washing. It was actually my wife's idea. She thought, you did this in the military briefly in the flight decks. We'd pressure wash oil slicks, things of that nature. She's like, would you ever turn this into a business? Do you think it's a viable, or opportunity, good income? I said, I don't know, let's watch a couple YouTube videos, see where it takes us. So we did that. I was up and running within a week. I ordered everything off Amazon, just your basics, 3.5 gallon per minute pressure washer, hoses, reels, all the basic necessities to get started. Talking maybe $2,000 to $3,000, and I was up and running that week. Had my first customer about 10 days later, and the rest is history. From there, it was just about meeting people, going to network group meetings, painters, property managers, realtors, anybody in the realm of buildings, maintenance, obviously exterior, you're not going to be pressure washing interior. And so, from there, I just kept growing. Word of mouth is still the best advertising I've found, bar none. You can do Google ads, Facebook ads, Yelp, Nextdoor is another great app to use. But at the end of the day, it's about developing and building relationships with your customers so they remember you. There's a lot of competition out here in Nashville. There's a lot of people who I contend with. And a lot of times I'll get the job simply because I can remember their name. I communicate. A lot of people out here, they're having a hard time with contractors and people in the line of work that I do, as far as just there being a complete lack or no communication at all. That leaves your customer or potential customer feeling a lot of anxiety. No reason to do that at all. That you want to develop and build confidence within them, and then that'll translate into confidence within yourself. And so yeah, I'd say first and foremost, meet a painter. That was my bread and butter getting started. I started with driveway washes, and then eventually I met a painter. Now, before they paint anything out here, because of the humidity and the organic growth, the surface needs to be washed, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's hardy board, vinyl siding, aluminum, anything. You get the mold, mildew, and algae growth. That's what I'm here to handle. So I'd pre-wash these buildings, get them all prepped, ready for painting, then he'd go to work. This guy's been in the industry for over 35 years. Everybody knows Charlie Mang. That's who everybody uses in the Belmean area and the more prominent areas, which are areas I definitely want to focus on, because the people with money are the people who are going to be very picky about maintaining their property because they have a multi-million-dollar asset. So I'm just, happy to be a part of that. Again, happy to develop relationships, and it just keeps me disciplined. A lot of times people can misconstrue motivation with discipline. There's many days I don't feel motivated to get up and go do my job. It's hard work, it's manual labor, it is unglamorous, nasty stuff. However, $200 an hour, you learn to like it, keeps you young, keeps you in shape, and you get to meet a lot of people from every walks of life. And it's just an amazing thing. It's provided so many opportunities for me, just from networking. I'm now offering 7 different services. It started as just concrete washing, then I went to house washes. I do roof washes now, metal and asphalt shingle. Like I said, I wash concrete, I added ceiling to the mix. It's just another avenue of revenue for you. You don't want to be a one-trick pony, because you can go out of business really quick. So expand your services, expand your horizons, and just have more to offer. Another service offers gutter flush cleaning, downspouts, all that stuff gets packed full of debris falling off trees, or the asphalt granules that run into the gutters can weigh them down and actually remove them from the side of the house. So I offer that. Wood wash, whether it's a deck or a fence. Do a lot of washing. After the wash, you let it dry for 40 hours, come back, and you do staining. So staining and painting is also another service you can offer. And with that being said, it's developed a company that's I've been pretty successful with so far. I did $100,000 my first year. My second year I did $135,000, and it's just been going up from there. I'll probably cap out at around 150 grand a year which is totally fine because I'm a one-man army. I have no employees at the moment. I, plan to have employees in the future, but right now I can handle the workload, and things are just going good. January and February are definitely the slower seasons, so it's something where I got to pivot and just focus on gutters and window washing during that time. Not a lot of people are doing pressure washing for obvious reasons. Freezing temperatures. These machines don't run all that well. Once it drops below 30. And things have just been going really good. I started with residential, as we all do. And from there, a lot of these people that own these residential properties say, hey, I'm a property manager, do you do commercial? I said, no, but I can add it. It's the same line of work, just bigger projects, bigger scale. You need to upgrade your tools, your machinery and equipment. And, you have to have a little bit more expertise under your belt so you can sell yourself, because that is very important. You don't want to show up to a job looking like a slob. Present yourself well. Try to be as well spoken as you can. It really impresses people. And ultimately, just make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you're going to do a good job. The proper chemical ratios, the proper PSI. For example, new freshly laid concrete, you're going to have a problem with potentially etching that. So, there's different tips. There's a lot to it. A lot of people just assume on social media because they make it look so easy that it is easy. It is once you get good at it, but there's a big learning curve. You can really damage or destroy property, or you can make it look sparkling clean. So you obviously want to choose the latter and don't destroy property. Not a good look, and I guarantee those customers will not come back. And God forbid you cause enough damage, that means they're going to have insurance companies involved, and that is not fun either. That's just money out of your pocket, a lot of liability. I'd say the best advice that I could give is, like I said, just meet a local painter, meet a general contractor. Even though, general contractors are slowing down, the building permits are slowing down nationwide, real estate's kind of starting to tumble. Doesn't matter, there's always going to be work. There's always going to be growth, growing on these roofs, growing on the windows, growing on everything. So possibilities are endless, and there's a lot of work. It's just a matter of getting out there, beating the streets, boots on the ground type of mentality, and you go find these people. It's real easy. Once you get into the line of work, you just start walking around, just simple observation. Oh, that building's dirty. You can run in and throw them a proposal really quick, or at least get the gatekeeper's contact info. You can do an estimate right there, email it to them. So just for the records, they know what they're sitting at as far as cost and the, exactly how the work's going to be performed. Let's see. So I started in November of 2021. So we're now in year 4. I'll be wrapping up year 4 this December. Pretty excited. Good things are going. My business has stayed consistent year over year. I've created more income, which is obviously the goal. You don't want to do one step forward and 2 steps back type of thing. And just something to think about is this is a skill or a trade, because it is an unskilled trade, as they call it. It's not like being a plumber or a welder where you have to get, qualified, get your certifications, oftentimes your journeymans before you can really go and venture out on your own. This is something straight out of the box. You can do legally, you get the proper, business license, tax license, all that good stuff. Get set up with your local government. Every area varies from municipality to every, each local area. So get all your ducks in a row, and then you are off and running. Keep it small, just start with doing concrete, washing driveways, patios, front stoops, and then from there you can start to look around the property and say, oh, does your house need to be washed? They say, yeah, sure. Throw them an estimate, go and buy the equipment, and then there's another service that you can now offer. So you have concrete cleaning, house washes. If you notice there's a lot of black streaking on the roof, or moss or algae growing, say, hey, would you like to have your roof washed? That helps, retain the integrity of the shingles. They will deplete much faster if you let growth and organics, dominate these shingles. That it will literally disintegrate them and reduce the life. And as we all know, replacing a roof, on your standard 1,800 square foot home, if you're talking at least 10 to 12 grand and up. from there, depending on the square footage and how many panels of roof and etc. Now, while you're on the roof washing it, you can then look in their gutters. Are their gutters full? You know, these customers appreciate it. They really do appreciate these upsells because they're things that they oftentimes don't even think about. A lot of people buy houses and they don't know that there's maintenance involved, and they don't know what to maintain. So you can help enlighten them and fill them in and then tell them why they should maintain it. You know, it's gonna basically keep their house maintained. You know, that is the biggest purchase that most people will ever make is real estate. And especially if it's their first home, you know, sometimes that's their forever home, you know, especially with the prices of everything in real estate and the interest rates currently, you know, it's tough. So you can help maintain their property. That also helps to maintain the value of that property. So if they ever go to sell it, hey, they're good to go. You know, the house is going to look great versus something that's all beat up, gutters full, roof dirty, house dirty, windows dirty. It's just not a good look. And, you know, potential buyers might run, or they might ask for concessions or reduction in price just because it looks like crap. When all I had to do is spend a couple grand to have the entire property looking great. Ends up saving them money in the long run, and you sell their house quicker. And due to this being an unskilled trade, that means you can take this anywhere in the world. If you want to go to Portugal, you want to go to Germany, it doesn't matter. You can do this anywhere. Window washing is what I'm referring to, you know, concrete washing, just anything pressure washing related. I love to travel the world. That's a hobby of me and my wife's. We travel the world, and we just like to see different cultures and kind of envelop ourselves in that, learn a lot, you know, try their food, hear their language, meet the people. And it's just great to see that, you know, we are all the same throughout the world. And it's just a matter of just diving in, you know, never be afraid of exposing yourself to another culture. We've learned so much from it. And oftentimes we go to these countries, we'll see other fellow pressure washers, window washers, and I'll stop and talk to them. You know, granted they speak English, you know, so we can make conversation. And I'll pick their brain and they'll pick mine. And then before we know it, we exchange Instagram profiles and we're following each other and giving each other advice. And I've actually developed and maintained a lot of good relationships with people that would be deemed my competitor. Whether they're local, you know, I don't even look at them as competitors, more like, you know, it's a brotherhood. We can all help each other. You know, if I'm ever short on work, I've developed relationships with other local pressure washers. They toss me work from time to time and subcontract me stuff and vice versa. So it's a big community, and this is, you know, global outreach too. So people in this line of work, for the most part, all have the same mentality. We're all looking to just help one another, you know, and just watch each other flourish without stepping on each other's toes or taking each other's work. And I've had zero issues in the 4 years I've been in business in Nashville. Everybody here is great. The customers are great, a very friendly, welcoming, Southern hospitality type environment. And I'm glad I moved here from Phoenix 4 years ago. A lot of people say, well, why'd you start in Nashville, not Phoenix? And like I mentioned, I was doing stock and commodities trading, crypto as well, and I was doing quite well. So it was just never a thought on my mind. I thought I was going to be able to be a trader forever, and found out real quick that over leveraged myself and just had to, you know, pivot and go to another industry. But the thing with Phoenix, on the West Coast anyways, is it's pretty dry. So with that being said, organic growth really isn't a thing. Most of the homes don't have gutter systems. The concrete stays very clean there, just gets a little dusty. Again, because there's so much sun, there's no humidity that keeps growth away. Desert is a lot of dirt and dust. So, you know, you can do parking lot cleaning, driveway pad cleaning, some commercial work, but for the most part, window washing is where it's at if you are on the West Coast, especially in Phoenix. A little backstory about me. I was born in Eugene, Oregon in 1983, lived there for about 10 years. And my parents moved us to Scottsdale, Arizona in 94. From 94 until 2001, I was in the Scottsdale area, then we moved up to Globe where I finished out a high school career. And in 2001, I joined the Navy, July to be exact. 2001, I joined the US Navy, was shipped out, and went to A school in Mississippi, Meridian to be exact. After that, you know, it was around that time 9/11 happened, and they shipped us straight out to war. Spent 7 months in the ocean on the last steam-powered carrier, the USS Constellation. And we went to war and came back in 7 months. Then in 2004, I was discharged and then moved back to Phoenix, where I had lived prior, and started working at a casino, Casino Arizona out of Scottsdale. Great spot, by the way, if you like gambling. Great ambiance, too. And I started doing valet. Did that for about 4 years. Then I went into blackjack dealing. Only lasted about a couple months. The cigarette smoke was just a little bit too much for me to handle. But great line of work, a lot of fun, great people there. And then from there, I just worked odd jobs. And then finally went, I'm a terrible employee. And I knew that about myself. I'm great at doing work, but I need to be left alone. And so that spawned a couple other ventures. I've always been an entrepreneur, but I still tried to be an employee for years. It just didn't work. And so one of my first solo entrepreneur gigs, I guess you could say, or startups, was a food truck called the Local Yeti. And I wanted to bring something healthy, a healthier option to the food truck scene in Arizona. Because as you know, you go to the food truck scenes, it's mostly comfort food, a lot of fried, fatty foods, which is fine. I like that not as much as the next man. But I wanted to offer that healthy option. I felt like America really needed it. So I did cold pressed juices, organic smoothies. It was a good time. Ended up being a huge loss, a big money pit. But funny story is I got a wife out of it. What I mean by that is my wife, Lauren, was my very first customer. And so pretty cool story. Met her at the farmer's market. She came up and she had a shirt that's a Double Check Ranch. She was actually selling beef and butchered meats. And she says, would you like to work on trade or anything? I said, yeah. She's like, well, I see you do juice. Can I try one? I said, yeah, here you go. And she was my very first customer. And we still have a picture because I had to take a picture of my very first customer. Had I known, fast forward 10 years, I'd be married to her. So we love sharing that story. It's just a part of my growth, part of who I am. And she's helped immensely with the whole development of this business. She does a lot of the back end work, the website design, a lot of the graphic design. She's helped me a lot. I'm 42, so I'm a little outdated for that stuff, but I'm learning a lot from her. And she's just, kicking butt, helping me out a lot, getting me relevant with SEO on Google. Again, just all that back of the house work that I wasn't too familiar with. I'm more of a hands-on guy, like throw me in the gauntlet type of thing, and I'll just go to work. And so yeah, we're a great team. And she still helps me to this day. We're actually getting ready to launch some courses for pressure washing. You see all these white collar workers getting laid off. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people getting laid off right now. And I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon or even slowing down. With that being said, you have a lot of men that without Wi-Fi, they might be rendered useless, or obsolete, so to speak. So they're having to come back to the workforce and, they got to make money. So it's be a bartender, be a server somewhere, or an unskilled trade like junk removal, pressure washing, window washing. So they're coming back to this, and I want to help those guys, let them see that, hey, you can do something else without the internet. You don't need to be plugged in to earn an income. And if you truly want freedom, be self-employed. Be an entrepreneur, working that 9 to 5, which is nowadays is a 9 to 9. By the time you get home and answer all your emails and deal with your boss blowing your phone up, micromanaging you, it's just, to me, it's no way to live. Some people need that structure. They just want to go do that same monotonous routine day in and day out, and I think it's a slow death. I don't think anybody's really built for that. It's just kind of what, you're used to. But man, once you expand your thought process and you see what else is out there, possibilities are endless. And there is so much work, especially here in Nashville. There's so much work out there. So even if it's just starting out with washing windows in the drive-thru at McDonald's, go do it. A lot of people have too much pride, or say, oh, that's poor man's work, or that's nasty. $200 an hour is $200 an hour. And I guarantee most of us in the realm of what I do make more than most college grads. In fact, blue collar workers right now are actually making the most in the nation. That's, anything from plumbers, pipe fitters, linemen, welders, the list goes on, roofers. We're the ones out here killing it. And that's not to brag, but just to kind of show you the possibility of what, you could accomplish. And a lot of times you'll surprise yourself. It's just a matter of getting your feet wet and getting out there. Biggest advice I can get regarding fear and just being anxious about starting something new, or maybe thinking you're too dumb or you can't handle it. You can. If I can, anybody can. another great angle if you ever want advice, you know, how to get started, whether it's chemical ratios, how do you wash concrete, how you wash a window. YouTube, best resource ever. Watch multiple videos though from multiple people, because you know a lot of them have varying opinions. So you watch multiple videos and you can kind of get a better idea. It's kind of like doing research. Same thing. You know, you never want to just watch and hear one person's opinion because it might be incorrect. So YouTube, second, Instagram. Go out there and start following window washers. It doesn't matter where they're located in the world. You know, add value to them, ask them questions. Let them know, hey, I can help you. If you're just doing window washing, have you ever thought about doing pressure washing? If so, let me teach you. And guess what? They're going to teach you how to window wash. You know, maybe set you up with the proper gear. I wasted a lot of money in the beginning just throwing darts at a board, more or less, you know, shots in the dark to try to figure out what I needed, what materials, and I wasted a lot of time and money. And there's just no reason to do that. So find yourself a really good mentor, whether it's Instagram or even somebody local. Offer to go and job shadow for them. You know, nobody's going to say no to free labor. They can at least show you how to manage your hose, pressure washing hose, that is. Proper technique, you know, different PSI for different substrates of concrete, how to seal. There are just so many different avenues within the realm of what we do. So make sure to explore everything. And if somebody says, hey, do you do gutter flushing? Even if you don't, say, yeah, I sure do. Then go and learn it. Go and learn it, and then, hey, you have another skill set that you can add. It's not tough. It's a little scary getting on some of those roofs or even working from a ladder. It can be very dangerous. You can paralyze yourself or die. That's definitely not the goal. I've not come close to doing that in 4 years. You take, you know, proper precautions. Don't run around like a crazy man on top of a roof unless you really know what you're doing or you're harnessed up. You know, keep it safe. I mean, just look behind me. Look at all these buildings. All these buildings need to be washed, and there's a lot of companies who cannot handle these larger scale buildings, or they just simply don't want to. So there's a lot of business owners and commercial realtors and property managers alike that are just hungry to find people like myself and people like you who are just willing to get their hands dirty, because it is unglamorous work, but man, it is satisfying. You get to throw those videos up on social media. People love it. They eat it up, and it will produce work for you. You know, people will start kind of picking your brain, saying, hey, what do you have to offer? I saw this video. You know, it could be somebody across the country, and it doesn't matter. It's the fact that the outreach that you're projecting, it will get noticed, and word of mouth happens. It's kind of like subliminal messaging. Somebody sees a logo or the same words over and over, kind of gets imprinted in their mind. And that can really help advance the growth of your business. Another angle, take business cards with you everywhere. It seems pretty dumb advice that I just gave you, but it's crucial, because you never know who you're going to meet or where you're going to meet. And go out a lot. Even if you're an introvert, you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money. Just go sit at a restaurant, sit at a bar. I couldn't tell you how many connections I've made just sitting at the bar. It's not a matter about getting drunk or buying somebody shots and making friends. It's just about being human, being conversation, looking over to the person next to you. You know, when everybody just sits on their phone, don't be that guy. Just say, hey, how you doing? You know, I like your sport coat. Or, man, your hair looks beautiful. Something along those lines. It's an icebreaker, and automatically you're adding value by just simply complimenting them. And then before you know it, maybe you'll find out they own a couple big buildings down in downtown Nashville they need washed, or a couple restaurants, or even their home. Maybe they have a $5 million estate out in Belle Meade. You know, those are some big ticket items. And then from there, most of those people that are affluent, they don't just shop around. It's word of mouth. They want to know who their neighbors use, because they know there's automatically that trust. And so you can really spread your name around very quick in the affluent areas. So I'd say focus on that. Predominantly areas where people's average income is over $100,000 a year. Generally speaking, not always, but those are the ones who are going to be maintaining their houses because they can't afford it, and they're not house poor. Whereas, you know, I hate to say it, but a lot of people make under 100 grand, depending on their overhead and liabilities each month. A lot of them are house poor, or they just aren't familiar with maintaining. They just wanted to simply be a homeowner so they could take the infamous key in hand picture and post it on Instagram. And then they learn real quick how expensive and how much maintenance owning a home really is. That's where people like me and you will come in to play. So I hope these courses go well. Actually, I know they're going to go well. and I hope to provide a lot of value for all you guys. You think that's enough? I've just been going off on anything that pops in my head.
Did you just like wrap it up and be like, "Want to see the journey?"
Okay. So I'd love for you to come and join me on this journey. Let's see where it goes. Let's see where we can take your business, and let's grow together. Cool.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad I got that done. It was weighing on my mind because it's like one of the last components before we can really get everything going.
Pretty much.